we actually do have a brand new rule that I think Harry may have yanked it out, but I want to talk about it really quickly, just because I think it is important. The oh god, what's the name of the rule that they just the
Hip drop
tackle
tackle.
hip drop tackle? Thank you. I completely forgot about my brain went blank. NC State brain again. The hip drop tackle has been banned, and the issue is like in the announcement about all this happening and like the leaks out from the NFL media insiders, who work for the league technically, and you can sort of read between the lines on some of the reports that have come out, is that, they're like the officials believe that they can correctly, adjudicate this rule on the field. It's like, how do you, now I actually think I think this particular rule will be easier than a lot of the other rules that maybe we see in terms of the officials managing it, because to me they're very, like we saw it with the Mark Andrews play, right? Where that was sort of the turning point for it when a team in the AFC, they get it back to the AFC Championship game, but one of the best teams in the league loses one of its biggest stars on a tackle where it does look dangerous when it happens. To me, it feels a lot like the horse collar tackle where it's going to be obvious, but I also think it's insane to suggest that the league can throw something else onto the officials' plates and that they're going to be perfectly fine handling it when they can barely handle games as it is right now.
Not only that, just you're talking about it from an official standpoint, but from a defender standpoint, we're getting into a very small box of where these guys can hit these offensive players. And, I think this rule is a little bit scary because we're talking about obviously trying to avoid injuries, and that's the whole purpose of this entire thing. Now you're just going to see dudes start going for dudes' knees again. And that's going to change the whole type of dynamic of more ACLs, more blown out knees. I just think that that's a scary development that this might turn into because of this hip drop tackle coming into play.
Yeah, and we've seen offensive players get asked. I remember Rob Gronkowski getting asked, would you rather be hit low at the knees or up high toward the helmet? And he said up high.
No, helmet. Yeah.
At the helmet, because you don't want to tear an ACL. And that's what you're at, a point where defenders don't have a choice. They're going to go low on everyone. And that's where injuries are going to start happening. So if there starts to be an uptick in those kind of injuries, then the NFL is going to be stuck in kind of the law of unintended consequences, where they were trying to do something good, but didn't kind of realize what the fallout was going to be. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out on the field.
Yeah, I do think though. I just feel like I've been saying this. I say a lot of stuff, so who the hell knows if anybody actually heard me suggest this? But I've been saying for almost at least for the entirety of last season that the NFL, and I think through even the year before, it was the NFL is very clearly going to ban these type of tackles, because you see it, and it's just the way that it works is you grab somebody by the hips and you roll them down. You could still tackle somebody by the hips. You just can't drop them and roll them over. And yeah, as Harry points out in the chat, the landing on the ball carrier's legs. It's just going to be it's a form thing where I think we probably had the same freak out when we did the thing with the horse collar, where you're oh, how are you going to get somebody from behind? It's you just it's just one of those tackles where the way that the torque and the sort of the physics work, it's going to create injury more often than not. And so I think that's why you see it, broken legs from a horse collar tackle or something whatever with Andrews, the roller. I just think that's what they're trying to avoid. So I'm not surprised by it. L'Jarius Sneed traded.
Wait, let me add one more rule real quick. The challenge rule.
Oh, yeah, challenge rule.
Which I think was a good addition, where the old rule was you had to get 2 challenges right to get a third challenge. Now you only have to get 1 challenge right to get a third challenge. Hopefully they eventually just go to a 3 strikes and you're out. You just get to keep challenging until you miss 3, which I could see a few coaches doing, but I do like that they're adding the extra challenge here.
Yeah, and I would say on the extra challenge thing real quickly, it's a lot of times we saw cases where NFL coaches were forced to use their first challenge to correct an obvious officiating mistake. And then you're in a position where, yes, you got that one right, but now you need to make sure that whatever you're challenging next needs to be really, really obviously clear, because you want to have that challenge, in the fourth quarter from 15 minutes to 2 minutes when everything becomes reviewable. So I think this is a no-brainer. You're asking these coaches to fix mistakes, officiating mistakes with their challenges sometime. If that's the case, you should be rewarded with an extra challenge for having to do that.
Well, that's the thing. You don't have to be as stingy with your challenges just so you have them in the fourth quarter. So no, props on the Lions for proposing it and obviously getting it approved.